place.
Right. What is that? What is that? Look up there. Look up there.
Oh, yeah, right. Well, oh, right here. You see it?
It looks like... Oh my God. Did you hear that?
What in the heck?
For years, people have talked about Bigfoot hiding in the wilderness. But what if it's more than just a story? Deep in the forests of Alaska, Maria and Bryce found something so eerie they had to leave. Strange sounds, creepy sightings, and maybe even Bigfoot's lair. What did they really find? Legends and lore of Bigfoot. To start, just think of it. It's 1924, and a group of miners in the dense wilderness of Ape Canyon, Washington, is just trying to get some sleep after a long day of work. Suddenly, they hear a terrifying sound. Rocks pounding against their cabin like someone or something is trying to break in. When they peer outside, they swear they see ape-like creatures hiding in the shadows, throwing massive stones their way. The miners, scared out of their minds, picked up their rifles and started firing. They claim they hit one, and just like that, the creatures disappeared into the night. It sounds like the plot of a Hollywood thriller, but these men insisted it was all true. Creepy, right? And that's just one story. Let's fast forward to that same year, but we're in British Columbia, Canada this time. A man named Albert Osman is camping, minding his own business, when he wakes up to find himself being carried off in his sleeping bag. Yep, you heard that right. He says Bigfoot carried him away to a secluded spot where he spent days with what he described as a Bigfoot family. He eventually managed to escape, but his story quickly caught everyone's attention. Now, whether you believe it or not, you must admit it's the tale that makes you think twice about sleeping under the stars. And it's not just the miners or Osman telling these wild stories. In Alaska, the stories get even bigger. Take the Kushtaka, for example. According to indigenous Alaskan lore, these aren't your friendly neighborhood Bigfoot types. People say they're shapeshifters, letting out eerie cries, like a woman screaming, to draw you into the woods. Once you're close enough, it's game over. Some say the Kushtaka can even mess with your mind, leaving you disoriented and defenseless. It's the kind of story that gives you chills, especially if you're alone in the Alaskan woods at night. But here's the interesting part. Not everyone sees Bigfoot as a threat. Some believe it's a guardian of the wilderness, like nature's bouncer, keeping humans in check and protecting the forest from destruction. Others, however, think it's the ultimate alpha predator, watching, waiting, and hunting if you're unlucky. Just think of hiking through the Alaskan forest, feeling like you're being watched. Is it just your imagination? Or could it be something much bigger, something you don't want to meet face to face? These tales have been passed down through generations, and while skeptics roll their eyes, there's no denying the sheer volume of stories from people who swear they've seen or heard something out there. Maybe the real question is not whether Bigfoot exists, but why so many people from different places tell similar stories, like Fred Beck and Albert Osman. Do you think it is a coincidence? Or is there something or someone really living behind dark shadows just out of reach? Also, what's the truth behind these folklore legends? Are they just spooky campfire stories? Or is there some truth hiding in these chilling tales? And how do Maria and Bryce fit into all of this? Well, their Alaskan expedition is about to become more mysterious and shocking than anyone has before. Mission Alaska.
Alaska is the most untouched, wildest, untamed area I've ever seen. And this feels like the most target-rich environment for Bigfoot sightings ever.
Before moving on, meet Maria and Bryce, two very professional and expert adventurers with a knack for diving headfirst into the unknown. With her sharp instincts and background in wildlife research, Maria has spent years tracking unseen creatures. Bryce, on the other hand, brings a tech-savvy touch to their expeditions with drones, thermal cameras, and a deep curiosity about cryptids. Together, they make the perfect team to tackle the mystery of Bigfoot. But this time, they've chosen their most challenging mission yet: Alaska's vast, untamed wilderness. What led them there? It all started with some strange sightings in California. People claim to see large, shadowy figures moving through the woods. Figures too big to be human, but weirdly humanoid. Then there were reports of wolves behaving oddly, wolves that match the description of a species found only in southeastern Alaska. Coincidence? Maybe. But Maria and Bryce didn't think so. They saw it as a potential breadcrumb trail leading north to Bigfoot's backyard. And then there were the stories, the old eerie tales locals in Alaska shared. They talked about things going missing from campsites, only to show up later in the strangest places, at the edge of the woods, or even high up in the trees. The weird part? There were no tracks or signs of animals. Nothing to explain. Just that unsettling feeling like something or someone was deliberately playing with them. People said you'd feel watched, like eyes were on you, even when the forest seemed empty. In the nights, that's when it got really creepy. The forest would come alive with unearthly screams. These weren't bear roars or wolf howls. They were something else entirely, something no one could identify. The sounds were raw, chilling, and filled with a kind of emotion that sent shivers down your spine. Locals said it wasn't just the noise, it was the way the air felt heavier, as if the forest itself was warning you to stay away. No one could ever quite explain it, but everyone agreed. Once you heard it, you'd never forget it. You need to get along because this adventure is only getting started. Heading into Alaska, Maria and Bryce knew they were in for a challenge. This isn't your typical camping trip. We're talking about a place with no roads, dense woods that swallow GPS signals, and wildlife that doesn't exactly roll out the welcome mat. Bears, for instance, aren't just a possibility, they're a given. And Alaskan bears? Let's say they're not the kind you casually shoo away. It's the kind of environment that tests even the most experienced adventurers. And then there were the warnings from the locals. Don't go too deep into the woods, they said. People disappear out there. Those are not exactly comforting words, but if anything, it fueled Maria and Bryce's willpower. They were here to find the truth, no matter how many obstacles stood in their way. And let's face it, what's an adventure without a little danger? They grabbed their stuff, took a deep breath, and headed into the Alaskan wilderness. With every step, things felt stranger. They were constantly thinking about those creepy screams at night. Why did their things keep vanishing? And could Bigfoot actually be out there, hiding in the woods? Their journey was beginning, but the stakes were already sky high. If Bigfoot were out there, Maria and Bryce would have been so determined to find it. But would they find the answers they sought, or end up facing something even more terrifying? And speaking of terrifying, what exactly did they encounter on their first night in the wilderness? Let's say it was enough to make even seasoned explorers question their courage. You need to get along because this adventure is only getting started. A series of weird encounters. The Alaskan wilderness doesn't just feel vast, it feels alive. As the team went to more abandoned areas on the Prince of Wales Island, the forest seemed to close around them. Its ancient trees were like whispering secrets they weren't sure they wanted to hear. Darkness fell quickly, and with it came the first unnerving sound, a howl. But this was not the kind of howl you'd expect from a wolf or coyote. It was something else entirely, part human scream, part guttural animal cry, the type of sound that makes your skin crawl and your heart race. "Did you hear that?" Maria whispered, gripping her flashlight tighter. Bryce nodded, his eyes scanning the treetops. They both knew they weren't alone, but whatever was out there wasn't ready to show itself. Not yet. As they pushed on, the smell hit them. It was beyond unpleasant. It was sickening, a mix of wet dog, rotting meat, and something metallic, like blood. "Whatever it is, it's close," Bryce muttered, covering his nose with his sleeve. The stench grew stronger as they found their first piece of evidence. A broken branch, 8 feet off the ground, snapped clean in half. No bear could reach that high, and no human could break a thick branch without tools. Then they saw it, light-colored hairs caught on the edges of a thorny bush. Maria carefully plucked a few and held them up to the light. "These don't look like they're from any animal I've ever seen," she said in a low voice. The hairs were coarse and almost white, blending perfectly with the snowy environment. Could this be a Bigfoot adapted to the icy ground? The ground nearby told a different story. Drag marks cut through the dirt, like something heavy had been dragged across the forest floor. The trail led deeper into the woods but suddenly stopped, as if whatever made it had just vanished. Bryce frowned, confused. "It's like it just disappeared," he said. The tension among the crew was growing. Objects left at their camp were mysteriously moved or thrown. Flashlights flickered at the worst moments. and their high-tech equipment seemed to fail just when they needed it most. "It's like something doesn't want us here," Bryce said, trying to steady his voice. But the most unnerving part wasn't the malfunctions. It was the feeling, the constant oppressive sensation of being watched. Even the locals had warned them. Stories of rocks being thrown from the treetops, strange figures roaming at the edge of campsites, and eerie cries echoing through the night were common here. "Don't go alone," locals said, "and if your gut tells you something's wrong, trust it." The team was thinking about those warnings. The team kept going, eager to find answers. But as the forest grew darker and closer around them, they couldn't shake the feeling they were walking into a trap. Something was out there, watching them, and with every step, it felt like they were heading towards something they might regret finding. The subsequent discovery would be even more chilling, and the team was not ready for what lay ahead. Could they handle what the wilderness had in store? Or would the Alaskan night prove too much even for seasoned explorers? When technology meets mystery, the Alaskan wilderness doesn't give up its secrets easily, but Maria and Bryce come prepared. When you're tracking something as elusive as Bigfoot, intuition and boots on the ground can only get you so far. That's where technology steps in. Their drones were the first line of attack, lightweight, silent, and equipped with advanced thermal cameras. From above, these mechanical eyes scanned the dense forests and icy ground, searching for heat signatures that didn't belong. Hours passed with little to show for it, but then it happened. A tall bipedal figure, unmistakably human-like, appeared on the drone's display. It moved swiftly, cutting through the undergrowth with a grace that no bear or known animal could match. "That's not normal," Bryce muttered, glued to the screen. Every rustle, every subtle movement was tracked with motion sensors strategically placed around their camp. At one point, the sensors went wild, signaling movement just beyond the tree line. Maria turned to Bryce. "It's circling us," she said, "watching." The breakthrough came when the team discovered a series of broken branches far above their heads. The height suggested something large and bipedal had been here. But it wasn't just the height that stood out. The way the branches were broken, deliberate, almost as if they were marking territory, felt intentional. Nearby, they found an upside-down tree planted firmly into the ground. Its roots stretched skyward like skeletal fingers, an eerie natural landmark that seemed out of place. Maria's thoughts drifted to the indigenous lore they'd heard earlier. The Kushtaka, a cunning shapeshifter, was said to mark its territory in strange ways, using stealth and intelligence to outwit its prey. Could these upside-down trees be a warning? A boundary? Bryce wasn't so sure. "If this is Bigfoot, it's more calculated than we thought," he said, studying the tree. The team began piecing together a picture of Bigfoot's potential habits. High-altitude nesting sites hinted at family groups, creatures living above the reach of most predators. The thermal images from the drone suggested that these creatures were not solitary. The implications were staggering. If Bigfoot was real, it might not be one creature, but a community living in the shadows of Alaska's untouched wilderness. As they analyzed their findings, one thing became clear. This was no ordinary expedition. The combination of cutting-edge technology and traditional tracking methods had opened the door to possibilities they hadn't dared to imagine. But each answer only raised more questions. Why were the upside-down trees so precisely placed? What drove the bipedal figure to circle their camp but stay out of sight? The tools were working, but the wilderness still had the upper hand. The team was closer than they'd ever been to uncovering the truth, but every discovery brought them deeper into the unknown. And as they prepared for the next stage of their journey, one thought wouldn't let go. Was this a look into Bigfoot's world, or were they being drawn into it? The tipping point. The team was deep in the Alaskan wilderness, chasing faint signs of something mysterious. The tension had been building all night, and the forest felt alive with anticipation. Using thermal cameras, they spotted a small heat signal on a tree across the clearing. It wasn't much, but it was a start, enough to give them hope. They kept watching closely, trying not to miss a thing, but before they could move closer, a strange noise echoed. Louder this time, like something was sneaking up on them, hidden by the dense, shadowy trees.
You hear that? You hear that?
Bryce's voice broke the tense silence. "There's something in the water," he said, pointing at the thermal feed. A shape glided silently across the surface, then vanished into the shadows. At first, they thought it might be a beaver, but the noises that came next didn't add up. A loud, rhythmic crack echoed through the trees. "That's not an animal," Maria said, tightening her grip on the flashlight. Then they found something that changed everything. A huge heat signature high up in a tree. It didn't stay long, disappearing almost as soon as they spotted it. But the leftover heat made one thing clear. It had been there just moments ago. Whatever it was, it moved carefully and silently, using the trees as both a hiding spot and a lookout. The team exchanged uneasy glances, realizing this wasn't just an animal. It was something smarter, something watching them. The crew pushed on, their flashlights slicing through the darkness. Near a quiet lake, they found something that left no doubt. Broken branches hung unnaturally high, and faint footprints marked the muddy shore. Then they found it, a chilling discovery. Scattered bones, fresh and gleaming in the moonlight. Maria's voice was barely a whisper. "This isn't random," she said. "This looks like a hunting ground." As they looked around, a chilling thought crept over them. The bones, broken branches, and dragged dirt weren't just signs of something big and strong. They were a warning. This wasn't random. They were in its territory now, and it knew they were there. Every clue seemed to tell them the same thing. They weren't just exploring anymore. They were being watched. Suddenly, the forest felt heavier and quieter, as if it was holding its breath. The team looked at each other, unsure of what their next move should be. The forest felt like it was closing in as the howls grew louder, echoing through the trees. Objects suddenly flew from the shadows, thudding against the ground around them. Their once reliable equipment began failing, one piece at a time. The thermal feeds flickered, motion sensors stopped working, and their communication devices were nothing but static. Bryce's voice broke the tense silence, barely above a whisper. "It feels like we're being hunted," he said, glancing nervously into the darkness. Maria made the call. "We need to get out of here." It wasn't just the danger of the creature itself. The forest, the isolation, the sheer weight of the unknown pressed heavily on all of them. But they couldn't leave empty-handed. They gathered what they could. Samples of hair snagged on branches, detailed images of the footprints, and thermal recordings of the heat signatures. It wasn't definitive proof, but it was enough to push the boundaries of the mystery. As they got ready to leave, the forest felt alive around them. Every rustle, every shadow, every movement seemed like a threat. Then everything went still, in eerie, heavy silence. Each step towards safety felt slower, like the forest didn't want to let them go. When they finally made it out of the forest, relief mixed with unease. Had they just gotten a glimpse of Bigfoot's world? Or was it a warning to stay away? They had evidence to analyze: footprints, heat signatures, and bones. But the team couldn't shake the feeling they'd crossed a line they shouldn't have. The air felt heavier, like the forest itself was still watching them, even as they walked away. What lies hidden in the shadows of Alaska's wilderness? Was this encounter proof of Bigfoot's existence, or a reminder that some mysteries are better left unsolved? Whatever the answer, one thing was certain: they would never look at the forest the same way again. Maria and Bryce found some intriguing clues, but the mystery is far from solved. Share your thoughts in the comments. Could Bigfoot really be out there? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more thrilling adventures into the unknown. Stay with us in the Expedition Bigfoot.